Hey there, all you beautiful souls. I hope your day has been absolutely fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you back for yet another exciting episode of What If Naruto Met Kurama early and they became partners. After a life-changing event, Naruto meets Kurama early, and they become partners. Even good friends. With a better outlook on life, he meets many who want to join him and help achieve their dreams and goals together. Among those friends are many beautiful women who have realized just how important he is to them. Don't forget to pay a visit to the author of this captivating fanfiction, and show them some love. You'll find the link waiting for you down in the description. If this what if is sparking your curiosity, drop a comment down below and share your thoughts. And while you're at it, don't miss out on exploring the plethora of other intriguing what ifs available on this very channel. Alright, let's not keep you waiting any longer, let's dive right into this thought-provoking video. Hokage's office, next morning. Two people now currently occupied the office of Konohagakure's village leader at this time. The young blonde-haired and whiskered boy Uzumaki Naruto, and Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage himself. The boy was sitting in a chair in front of the Hokage's giant wooden desk, looking exhausted and about to nod off to sleep, having been kept from his precious bed all night due to Hiruzen's incessant questions. The old man himself was sitting behind his desk, his elbows resting on it as he rubbed his temples and kept his eyes trained on his surrogate grandson. It was silent between the two for 10 long minutes, aside from Naruto's occasional half-snort, as he briefly dozed off before jerking awake repeatedly. The young boy was growing frustrated as the silence went on. Damn it, old man. I told you everything, down to every single thing I remember ever since I was born. That proves I'm really Naruto. Please let me go home and sleep, or at least kill me now. I don't care either way. I'm about to drop dead from exhaustion. Naruto yelled, having had enough of the silence and the Hokage's studying eyes. The old man sighed with closed eyes for a moment and leveled his gaze again at the young boy. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I just have to be absolutely sure you weren't being taken over by the Kyuubi. Even though you believe what it. The fox gets pretty touchy about that. Naruto corrected with a foxy smirk. Boy. Kurama growled from inside his head. You finally showed up, huh? Thanks a lot for bailing out on me, damn fox. He thought, then grinned mentally at his tenant's grumbling. She told you about her being controlled, we have to be wary. She is still a clever and powerful entity after all. Though, I admit I am intrigued about how you would turn out if we allow her to supervise your training from now on. The Hokage admitted with a sigh. He thought about the alternative of doing the child's training with some of his top shinobi, but there were always time constraints. Those same people were also quite busy with a backlog of missions, due to the lingering effects of the military force being reduced significantly by the Kyuubi disaster. Unfortunately, against his personal judgment, the third had to realize letting the Kyuubi help was going to be the best option for the young blonde in the long run. After another long moment of consideration, the older man stood up to retrieve a fresh scroll and began writing when he returned to his desk. Okay. I'll allow this. Naruto excited shout of Yada. Was immediately followed by the old man raising an index finger with a firm gaze. But. You must keep this secret. Most people in this village will not take kindly to the thought of you being raised by the Kyuubi, and they will likely take it upon themselves to get rid of you if this gets out. You may confide in people you truly trust, but I'd still be very selective about that too if I were you. He warned as he continued to scribble in the scroll. For now, you should work on your physical conditioning and learn to open up your chakra network for molding until you begin your academy career. When your first term ends for the summer, you will be escorted by some of my most trusted people, depending on who volunteers, to a secret training field with a shack far outside of the village during the 3-month break. This will repeat every academy year until graduation, so you will be able to safely practice using the Kyuubi's chakra among many other things. He dictated before his expression turned deadly serious. Any other time until I personally change this, you are not allowed to draw on any of the Kyuubi's chakra anywhere near within the village's premises, unless you have my express permission. Is that understood? He narrowed his eyes at the boy. Naruto locked his gaze with the older man just as seriously, and nodded once without hesitation. The third nodded back, his visage relaxing. What are you going to do about the academy, Naruto-kun? I was planning to get you admitted early this year. You should put off going to the academy for this year at least. You need a lot of physical and chakra training to be able to use my chakra without hurting yourself initially. At this rate, it will take about 1.5 years before I think you would be ready, which is right when the first 3-month break next year should occur. Kurama suggested. I think I'll wait on that for now if that's okay with you, Hokage Chiji. I'll join whenever my friends enroll, and they said they're waiting till next year. Naruto replied after a moment's thought. The old man nodded with an understanding smile. Let me add that, for now, I would be happy to help provide you with training aids, some low-level jutsu scrolls, and some weapons, should you need them in the future. Just come to me and we'll discuss any of that, okay? He got a happy nod before continuing. For now you will be allowed access to Training Ground 42, since no one is using that. However, you will need a special permit since you are not a shinobi yet. The Hokage finished writing in the scroll and called for an Anbu to appear. Take this to Commander Dragon, please. The third commanded, and the masked nin saluted as he took the scroll and disappeared in a swirl of smoke. I need to learn that. The boy bounced excitedly in his chair while the Hokage chuckled. Naruto, ask the old fart if that training field will have some steep cliffs for climbing. Kurama suddenly spoke, and Naruto reluctantly relayed what the fox asked, having a bad feeling about this. Despite his misgivings, Hiruzen had to smile. That fox knew what she was doing, after all. Yes, there is a large and deep ravine that should suit what you are looking for, Kyubi-san. I will be sure to include a little something with the training aids when you are ready to have Naruto-kun start on that. The Hokage replied for the fox's benefit. Naruto was confused and somewhat scared as he saw his surrogate grandfather's knowing smile, and he could feel the fox inside him grin white in response. The third cleared his voice. I apologize for keeping you here this long, Naruto-kun. I will let you get on your way now, since I have things to take care of in regard to the kidnapping attempt last night. You also need to recover your health, so come back in 3 days for your permit. Have a good day, he stated with a polite dismissal. The blond boy just nodded with a grin and quickly ran out of the room with a wave. The god of shinobi sighed tiredly as he turned in his chair to look out over his village through the large window behind the desk. He knew the entire village would be buzzing loudly when the news of the Hyuga kidnapping attempt reached everyone. What are you going to do now, Ace-san? Naruto. So, what do I do? Naruto thought as he sped through the streets toward his apartment, a little embarrassed with getting stares from the villagers this time. He was still topless after he lost his shirt last night, after all. As the old fart said, you need rest. Just get something to eat that's not ramen and get to sleep all day and night. We will get started on organizing your training tomorrow morning. Kurama spoke thoughtfully. Naruto was a little crestfallen since he wanted to get started right away, and he wasn't actually feeling tired, but he'd trust her. He stopped by a market that was forced to treat him as a normal customer, thanks to the Hokage's interference, and bought 2 disposable bowls of cereal and milk. Arriving home, he quickly ate then dived onto his bed, already asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. He hadn't realized just how close to extreme exhaustion he was. Kumo Gakure, Raikage's office. The very large, dark-skinned, and muscular 4th Raikage grunted as he lifted a dumbbell weighing 500 pounds, while sitting in his desk chair. This powerful shinobi named A was deep in thought as he wondered how the Hyuga kidnapping he ordered went. Gaining more Kake Genkai users was his father's last order before appointing him the new Raikage. Then that tough old bastard went and got himself killed defending Kumo's retreat against 10,000 Iowa troops, after that damn village decided to disband their alliance at the end of the Third Great Shinobi War. They did not have his now deceased father's obsession with getting more Kake Genkai users to increase Kumo's might, but he had to admit he was curious about what adding the abilities of the famed Byakugan could do for his military. Kumo was not well known for its sensing and tracking capabilities. Hell, A only found just one amazing sensor in Shia, from the latest crop of shinobi coming out since the last Great War. When this peace treaty negotiation came up, the Raikage decided to take a chance, and made the order to sneak one of his retired jonin into Konoha as an ambassador. Now all he could do was to just wait for any news to come back to him. There was urgent knocking at the office's door. A carefully put the dumbbell down onto the floor, which creaked loudly under the weight, since he didn't want to get berated by his lovely new secretary for destroying his office again. After a loud grunt of enter, a chunin in charge of the messenger hawks burst in, breathing hard with a scroll in hand. Raikage-sama, there's bad news from Konoha. What? The Raikage growled as he rose to his feet and moved to the chunin. Snatching the offered scroll and opening it quickly, he began reading. His mood began to darken with each line he read, and, upon reaching the end, crushed the scroll in his closed and trembling fist. He then growled in rage as he slammed one of his massive fists into his desk. The strike easily obliterated it into splinters. The Chunin stood stock still, as if making a single movement would alert the enraged Raikage to his presence, but A only took a deep breath, while the dust from the desk cleared, and took a moment to think. He wasn't going to give up on this. Fortunately, the treaty that Kumo and Konoha signed was real and binding, despite the true nature of the ambassador being revealed. He'd make use of that if he could find a way. Chunin, send a message to our spies in Konoha. Have them find a copy of the report on exactly what happened with our guy. I need all the details, including any witnesses' background details. Fast as speed. He barked in a tone that brooked no hesitating. The messenger Chunin quickly nodded and sprinted out of the office like a bat out of hell. Early next morning, same location. The Raikage entered the office after finishing his usual early morning workout regime. He sighed in disgust as he remembered how he had to deal with the council yesterday, and spent all day assuring those lazy bastards that he would find a way to get something out of this fiasco. He was so close to using his lariat on all of them, and then adopt Konoha's style of military dictatorship. The council's pressure was part of the reason why he pulled the trigger on this kidnapping attempt. Now he was already realizing his father might have happily dumped the Raikage title on him and rushed to death, just to avoid dealing with the council ever. And all the damn paperwork. He sat behind his new desk to absent-mindedly lift some dumbbells, and shake out evil thoughts about decapitating pompous asses. After about 30 minutes, there was a knock at the door. Another loud enter. Revealed the same messenger Chunin. Raikage-sama, we got the information from our spies in Konoha. These were sealed into the Hawk's message scroll. The man spoke quickly as he presented just 2 scrolls. A raised an eyebrow. Did they not have time to gather more files on other witnesses? No, sir. There was only one legitimate witness at the time of our ambassador's death. There were 2 others present, but they were the clan head and his daughter, so their accounts could be dismissed as biased in any court. The Raikage's other eyebrow joined the first one at this interesting development. He took the 2 scrolls, then sent the Chunin out. He laid them out on his desk and took his time reading over the detailed account of exactly how it happened, and then looked over the witness's file. A's eyes widened at the interesting history of this person. His lips began to form a smirk as he reread the Konoha Onbu's report, and his many years of shinobi experience told him that it seemed to have left important parts out in some areas. Apparently there were some secrets involved with this incident that they could not carelessly put on an official report for even their own shinobi with high enough clearance to read over. No matter, it would be their downfall. Without the whole truth, this report suddenly had holes. It was a long shot, but A would take this as he buzzed his secretary into the office via the intercom. Nabui-san, get me the diplomat that worked with Konoha in the past. And clear my schedule for this morning. I have a long list of things to discuss with him. The Raikage ordered. The now named beautiful dark-skinned young woman affirmed with a silent nod and moved to make arrangements. A then leaned back into his chair and sighed. This is truly an underhanded tactic. I almost actually feel bad about this. Almost. But I need to succeed in this to make the inevitable international shitstorm from the attempted abduction worth it. He began to grin. If this works, we may actually get an intact body of the strongest and most pure male Hyuga. That would provide solid results in our research, compared to a female Hyuga who was viewed as weak by her own clan. Especially if we manage to extract some semen before it could decay. Same time in Konohagakure. I can't believe I slept that much. You're right about me needing it, Kurama. Naruto muttered out loud as he yawned and stretched his body as much as he could in his bed on this early morning. He slept most of the day away yesterday, only getting up to eat and relieve himself. I am always right. I do have one question, though. Just what is that abomination you have on your head? Kurama remarked in his head, curious about the interesting-looking nightcap her host was wearing. It looked like an odd 2D monster eating the boy's blonde hair. Boy. Don't diss Mr. Nightcap. It protects me from bad dreams and keeps my head warm. Besides, it's a gift from Hokage Gigi. He defended as he stepped out of the bed to stretch some more. Nevertheless, my container shouldn't be wearing something that stupid and childish. Grumbled the fox. Naruto just shrugged as he pulled the nightcap off and began undressing for shower. You do realize I'm still a child, right? The boy deadpanned. So? Foxes are already adults by the time they're your age. Kurama tried pitifully. He just laughed out loud. Your fox logic won't work on a human. And the hat stays. He smirked upon hearing an annoyed snort in his head. After showering and eating an actual healthy breakfast of milk, fruit, toast, and oatmeal, Naruto dressed in his training outfit of a black loose sleeveless shirt, with the Uzumaki spiral drawn in red on the back and white shorts. So what do I need to start with? The boy thought, getting down to business as he stretched to make his body loose. Unfortunately, your body is pitifully underdeveloped thanks, once again, to your hopefully former ramen addiction. Kurama paused for an angry snort from her container before continuing. Any real physical conditioning will just break your body at this point. We will build up your endurance and muscles as you eat healthier before we begin on any actual conditioning and your shinobi training. It won't take much time, as I will be working to make efficient use of your body's improved nutrition. It shouldn't more than 2 months for you to be in good enough shape. Until then, we'll start with something easy. Maybe 10 laps around the entire village, and 2 sets of 50 crunches, push-ups, and squats each 2 laps. The fox couldn't help but smirk evilly at the boy's horrified expression at the list of the easy exercises. We will flesh out more of your exercises from there as time goes on. Now get going and no talk back. Chop chop. The hidden Anbu guarding Naruto eventually wrote in their daily report that they heard their charge loudly cursing a damn fox as the boy left his apartment for his long morning of tort exercises. Later, it was noon when our blonde hero was dragging himself up the stairs to his apartment. Damn fox, you put me through hell today. Naruto whined as he painfully fished for his keys in his shorts pocket. I know. I particularly enjoyed your creative vocabulary on what you were going to do to me when I asked for 2 more laps. I'll be looking forward to more tomorrow. Kurama replied, snickering at the memory. Naruto let out a pained groan as he opened the door, shuffled in, and fell forward flat on the entrance hallway's floor. A moment later, the 2 Anbu guards hidden next to the still open front door could hear snoring. 2 huge sweat drops formed in the air above where the 2 invisible guards were hiding. After listening to the boys snoring for 5 minutes, the guards shrugged at each other, and one of them briefly shimmered into visibility to gently close the front door. An hour later, the blonde woke up with his stomach grumbling. He opted to make use of the first of his 2 allowable ramen meal for the week. He cleaned himself up and headed back out, wincing in slight pain from his sore body. Arriving at Ichiraku Ramen, he was greeted by one of the few people that saw him for who he really was. Tsuchi, owner of his favorite ramen stand. Hey there. How's our hero doing? The middle-aged man called out boisterously from the kitchen as he saw the little blonde sit at the counter. Naruto glanced around to check he was actually the one being spoken to and cocked his head in confusion with a fox-like expression. Hero? Did I do something, old man? He innocently quizzed. Tsuchi laughed uproariously. You sure did. You're too modest, or have you forgotten how you saved that cute Hyuga heiress the other night? The whole village is abuzz about it. The cook clarified. Naruto smacked a fist into the other hand in realization. Oh? Ooh. That one. Actually, I did forget about that. I was sleeping all day yesterday, and I was busy with my sensei from hell all morning. Naruto replied with an embarrassed chuckle while rubbing the back of his head. I heard that. Scoffed the sensei from hell. A cute brown-haired young teenage girl came into view from the back of the stand. As soon as she saw the familiar mop of sun-kissed blonde hair, she let out a happy cry and jumped over the counter, with speed that would shock an elite jonin, to snatch the boy into a bone-crushing hug before he could say anything. You're a hero. You must have been so awesome when you stopped that evil nin all by yourself and saved that Hyuga girl. Maybe she'll fall in love, and you two will get married. The cute waitress rambled on as she squeezed her little brother figure harder. Aim-chan. You're killing our favorite customer, you know. The amused Tsuchi pointed out to his daughter. Ha! Was her reply before she looked down to see the poor boy's blue face suffocating between her already budding breasts. She yelped and pulled Naruto away from her chest before apologizing sheepishly. Naruto took in a breath and chuckled at Aim, his sister figure who also saw him for who he was instead of the Kyuubi. It was no big deal, Aim-chan. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Naruto replied shyly with a hand on the back of his head before continuing. Why would anyone want to marry me though? He quickly clapped a hand over his mouth at the slip. Tsuchi and Aim caught on and were stunned. Moron. Naruto's inner voice grumbled. You know now. The older cook leaned in to inquire carefully, while Aim looked on with a demure expression. Naruto sighed before nodding, and heavy silence fell on them for an uncomfortable moment before Tsuchi smiled broadly. Don't worry. What happened with the Hyuga clan is only the beginning. Some of the villagers are beginning to form new opinions of you, and it won't be long before everyone sees you for who you truly are. If you keep this up when you grow up, I wouldn't be surprised if you have many friends. And likely many girlfriends. The old man spoke the last part with a small perverted grin and laughed, before Aim lightly conked him on the head with a ladle. Don't pay attention to him. Even though it's true you'll be breaking many girls' hearts everywhere you go when you're older. Aim slyly said with a teasing smirk. Naruto looked horrified. Why would I do that? It'll kill them if I break their hearts. His childish misunderstanding caused both the Ichirakus to laugh uproariously, and it took them a while to settle down before asking an embarrassed blonde for his order. He felt better immediately when he was told it was on the house for his heroics. After eating 3 bowls, he wondered for a minute about what he was going to do today. Maybe I should stop by the Naras and see if Shika's home. Naruto thought before jumping off the stool and walked in the direction of the clan's district, saying his goodbyes to the ramen stand owners. A 30-minute walk found Naruto speaking with the lazy-looking guards in front of the Nara compound. However, he was dismayed to discover the head family had gone out of town for a few days into the clan's giant nature reservation to catalog the deer population for research, as well as gathering supplies for medicine and other things. The blonde let out a sigh and muttered troublesome before thanking them and leaving. The Naras thought about filing for copyright infringement upon hearing their signature phrase being uttered, but found it too troublesome. On the way, he passed by the Hyuga compound's main gate, and he was reminded that Hinata wanted to see him again soon. He shrugged on that thought, and decided it couldn't hurt to see if she was available. Stopping in front of the gate's 2 guards, he made his request. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. I was asked by Hyuga Hinata to stop by when I recovered, and I was wondering if she was available. The 2 guards narrowed their eyes at the blonde boy, and he had to hold back a gulp. Finally one of them spoke up. Uzumaki-sama, please remain here while my colleague steps inside to inquire about your request. The one on the left spoke professionally while the other slipped inside through the gate, apparently to speak to someone. A few minutes of terse silence passed between Naruto and the remaining guard, until the front gate creaked open to reveal the other guard and one more man. Hyuga Hisashi stepped up to Naruto and bowed slightly. The surprised Naruto nervously returned the bow. Hello, Hisashi-sama. We met the other night. I apologize if my stopping by here unannounced took you out of your busy schedule. Naruto respectfully said, mistaking the man in front of him for his identical twin brother, the Hyuga clan head. Hisashi could not resist an amused smirk. My sincerest apologies, Uzumaki-sama. We have not officially met and it was dark the other night, but please do forgive the confusion. I am not Hisashi-sama, but his twin brother, Hisashi. The man paused as the boy flinched in surprise and confusion. The boy allowed himself to have a closer look, and he did notice that this man was wearing a Hitai on his forehead, compared to Hisashi being completely free of any headwear. I was asked to greet you and take you to our meeting hall, since that is where my niece is being trained by her father. Hisashi continued as he bowed and stepped aside for Naruto to enter the compound. The blonde stayed where he was, a little nervous. Hisashi-sama. If they're busy, maybe I shouldn't bother them. The boy tried to respectfully back out. Nonsense, Uzumaki-sama. They are about to finish, and Hinata-sama will have some free time afterward. In the meantime, I'd be happy to escort you until then, insisted Hisashi. Naruto reluctantly gave up and went inside with his escort. The sight Naruto saw as he entered through the gate flabbergasted him. He was immediately surrounded by a gorgeous garden on the sides, and a long and thin reflecting pool forward of him. The pool was filled with beautiful and colorful koi fish, and vibrant green and white lily pads peppered the surface. The inner gardener in him squealed like a fangirl as he observed all kinds of rare plants and flowers in the garden surrounding the entrance. This was a clear display of the clan's wealth, and also their appreciation for the beauty of nature. As Naruto followed Hisashi around to the left side of the long reflecting pool, the garden opened up wide for him to see many impressive traditional Eastern-style houses littering the enormous compound. This was like a small village within Konoha. The long and narrow reflecting pool seemed to almost split the entire compound estate in two, with several ornate wooden bridges, allowing access to either side. However, Naruto seemed to notice the odd discrepancies between the houses on the left side of the pool and the ones on the right. He also noticed that he was being taken to a giant traditional meeting hall at the other end of the pool, opposite the main gate. Hisashi-sama. He tried to speak before Hisashi politely interrupted him with a shake of his head. Uzumaki-sama, please do not refer to me with Sama. I am not the head of this clan. My brother is. He replied politely with a small smile. Okay. Hisashi-san then. I know I'm being rude asking this, but I noticed that there are a lot of small houses on this side of the pool, while there are fewer on the other side, yet they're bigger and fancier. Is there a reason for that? Naruto inquired as he continued to see the differences. Hisashi smiled gently at the boy's observation. Usually a child like him would be staring into the pool the whole way, not even bothering to look around and notice the subtle darkness of this clan. Even the more mature and adult guests were only interested in the more luxurious offerings. Uzumaki-sama, since you may be coming here to visit more often, I am inclined to give you a brief history of this clan. That way, you will understand some of the things we do here. Hisashi spoke as the two walked slowly alongside the pool to the meeting hall. Since this village was founded and our clan moved here, our Doujutsu, the Byakugan, was revered about as much as the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. In the beginning, we had to deal with our enemies trying to capture members of this clan to put the Byakugan to their own use. Which is what you just saw happen with the Kumo nin the other night. Almost immediately, the clan leaders of that time came up with a seal. It would effectively protect our Byakugan from capture by permanently sealing our eyes, if they were removed forcefully or death occurs. It worked brilliantly. With this method, it was almost impossible for any enemy to capture the Byakugan. It incurred a high cost, however. Hisashi paused to take a breath. Naruto was paying full attention. What cost is that? The boy wanted to know more. Total subversion for the ones who carry the seal. There are two groups in this clan. The main and the branch lines. Whoever has the seal belongs to the larger and more populous branch line of this clan. Hisashi explained as he pointed to their left at the large collection of small but well-kept houses, then pointed to their right across the pool at the more luxurious houses. Those who doesn't have the seal belong to the smaller but more powerful main line, and they are in charge of the entire clan. The main members usually are raised to control this clan, deal with politics, and other more important functions. The branch members are allowed some freedom, but they must obey whatever any main member commands. If disobedience occurs, the main member may decide to use a special hand seal to incur unbearable agony as punishment on the branch member. This can even lend to mental damage or death. Ever since the beginning, we have been separated. The branch family forever serving and protecting the main family. Hisashi finished and glanced down to see an upset-looking Naruto. That's too cruel. No clan should have to be like that. I never had a family or a clan, but I can't imagine relatives being forced to serve me just because we were born into this. We should all be equals. He muttered with a sad expression before looking up at Hisashi. Hisashi-san, you're a main member then. I mean, your brother is the clan head, so it makes sense, right? Hisashi shook his head with a sad smile, much to Naruto's shock. I am of the branch line and I serve my brother. The seal is here. Hisashi replied as he pointed to his forehead covered by the Hittite. My brother came into this world a few minutes before me, and that was the difference between us because we are even in skills, intelligence, and other attributes. The main family groomed him while I was branded with the seal. In addition, because I was a few minutes late and ended up on this side of the pool, my son, despite his potential as an incredible Hyuga prodigy, was automatically branded. My two nieces will eventually have to face the same fate as my brother and me someday. When Hanabi-sama is old enough, the clan elders will determine who would be the true heirs of the clan, and the other will be moved to the branch family. Hisashi explained, and he could see the little boy was about to have an angry outburst. The man decided to interfere by holding a placating hand on the boy's shoulder to calm him down. Naruto had to hold his anger in, and then he looked downcast and shook his head in frustration. Uzumaki-sama, I am sorry this has upset you, but I wanted you to understand a little of this clan's traditions when you see something here you may object to. Whatever happens here inside these walls, it generally would be best to not interfere and leave it for the clan's business. Now, we are here. Hisashi pointed out as they arrived at the main meeting hall's large double doors. Hisashi opened one of the two doors, allowing Naruto to step inside, and followed him in. They moved down a hallway, and they could hear grunts and fists striking flesh. Hisashi opened a smaller set of doors, and Naruto finally caught sight of the training area. It was apparently set up as either a meeting or dueling hall, with 3 cascading rows of wooden benches, surrounding a very large flat square area, set against the back wall. Naruto could see a small indigo-haired girl, in a black skin-tight training outfit, attempting to land a hit on a tall man wearing white training robes in the middle of the stage. They were obviously sparring. The boy felt a hand on his shoulder, and he glanced up to see Hisashi silently nodding his head toward a particular section of seating. He complied and followed his escort to sit farthest from the sparring, so as not to distract either of the combatants. Naruto could only watch in amazement as Hinata tried to hit her father with a flurry of fast, at least for him, and precise strikes aimed at his limbs. He was particularly impressed when Hisashi knocked her to the floor hard with a nasty downward palm strike to her cheek, but she immediately got up to keep trying to land a hit on her father. He definitely liked the guts she was showing, at least. After a few more minutes of sparring, Hiashi suddenly held a hand up, signifying that their spar just came to an end. The two fighters then straightened up and bowed to each other. "You're improving, my daughter. You have managed to close one of my tinketsus earlier than last time," Hiashi commended as he seemed to flex his left hand. "You caught a neat work, however. Practice them and we will train again tomorrow afternoon. For now, I see you have a guest," he stated as he glanced up at Naruto and Hisashi. Hinata was confused for a moment until her pale eyes finally locked with blue eyes after searching the meeting hall. Her only reply was "Eep," as she instinctively hid behind her father's legs. Hiashi and Hisashi exchanged amused glances, while Naruto was wondering what was wrong with Hinata after her complete 180-degree from a fighting badass to a bumbling introvert. "Now, you should not be rude. Do not be shy and greet your guests properly." Hiashi smirked as he gently pushed his daughter around to his front. Hinata was losing her nerves and her eyes were wandering, looking at anything in her vision except for Naruto himself. Hisashi gently nudged his charge to get the boy's attention. He then motioned with his hand for the boy to get closer to the girl and her father. Naruto complied, making his way down the steps to the main floor to stand face to face with a very nervous Hinata, who still would not look him in the eyes. With an incline of his head in greeting, Hiashi left them alone to talk some things over with his brother. Hello, Hinata-san. I stopped by here to let you know I'm alright, since I thought you'd like to know that. By the way, that was some cool fighting you did. What was that called?" Naruto curiously inquired. Hinata blushed at having her martial arts skill being called cool. "Oh no. We train in the gentle fist. We use it to strike with chakra to inflict internal damage, instead of external like most other fighting stances," she bravely replied, but still unable to look him directly in the eyes. "That's incredible. I guess that's why I saw the Kumo guy fall apart even though there was no damage on the outside. Your dad was really awesome," Naruto exclaimed before he realized something. "Wait. When I met you at that playground, you could have fought those bullies off, couldn't you?" The question made Hinata flinch visibly, and a cloud seemed to form over her head. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I just don't like hurting anyone if I can help it," the pale-eyed girl mumbled as she looked dejectedly down at the floor while poking her two index fingers together. "Well, that's no good. I'd hate for you to be hurt, and if you could defend yourself, you should do it," Naruto admonished gently with a serious expression, and there was clear concern in his deep blue eyes. Hinata could not help but blush at that. "I suppose you're right. I'll try my best next time," she replied with a shy smile, finally locking her eyes with his. Naruto gave one of his trademark foxy grins and nodded in approval. "So, your uncle told me you have some free time after this. Do you want to play together or something?" He then tried to offer, hoping his new friend would say yes. Hinata nodded quickly. "Oh no. I'd like that. Just let me clean up and get changed," she replied with another blush and quickly made her way toward the changing room. Naruto looked after her departing figure until she was no more, before he turned to the twin brothers. "Hiashi-sama and Hisashi-san, was that really the same person that hugged me out of nowhere the other night? Maybe she's got a twin like you too?" he curiously inquired as he was pointing in the direction of Hinata. The twins exchanged amused grins. "I will admit that was a very rare occurrence for my daughter. She is rather shy and unwilling to stand up for herself in most situations. That was why I was impressed when I was told she actually made it difficult for the kidnapper before you rescued her," Hiashi admitted. The blond boy put a finger to his chin, and his eyes squinted fox-like as he became deep in thought. "She didn't do anything like that until she saw me sneak up behind the nin. I wonder why she suddenly tried so hard at that moment," he innocently said. The two brothers raised an eyebrow each as Hinata picked that moment to return in a simple pink kimono. After some small talk, the two children excused themselves to go play together elsewhere, and the twins were left alone. "That little. He is already stealing my daughter's heart, and he does not even realize it. I should teach him a lesson," Hiashi suddenly murmured to his twin in an annoyed tone. Hisashi smirked a little. "He is only a child, brother. I doubt Hinata-sama realizes it as well. We should just let them grow and find out themselves," Hisashi advised and heard his brother let out a small sigh. "I am not looking forward to my daughter's teenage years. If Hinata turns out to be anything like Hitomi-chan was, she would only remain shy until she decides one day to do what it took to get and keep her man. I should not say this as her father, but I am not betting on Uzumaki-san's chastity lasting long." Hiashi spoke in a resigned tone. Hisashi had to smile at the memory of his brother's deceased wife. Not only that, but imagine the headaches our elders will give you when these two become close. Hisashi pointed out playfully and enjoyed seeing one of his brother's eyebrows twitch slightly at the mention of the elders. That comes with the territory of being the clan head, I suppose. However, have you noticed something about Uzumaki-san? Hisashi inquired, changing the subject for now. Yes, brother. He looks like a young version of the fourth Hokage, and his somewhat mischievous nature reminds me of Uzumaki Kushina. Brother. You don't suppose? Hisashi would have completely lost his calm at the implications if he weren't shocked into silence, upon seeing a very rare full-blown smirk form on Hiyashi's lips. He looked truly devious. If you remember, we have had good relations with Minato-san, and we were privy to the fact that he and Kushina-san were in love and secretly married. You should also remember that we have not seen Kushina-san anywhere in the village for about 6 months until the Kyuubi attack. That day, we have heard the sad news of her dying along with the fourth. On the same day young Naruto was born. It is possible that if she had been actually pregnant with that child, she would have kept any sign of showing hidden until after birth for security concerns. One last thing that could make this more believable. We knew Minato-san personally, and how could he have used someone else's newborn, even an orphan, to seal the Kyuubi? I see him trusting only his own child to carry the burden. Hisashi finished his deduction to his younger brother's growing astonishment. Brother, if that is true. Hisashi sputtered before his older brother held a hand up for silence. It is just speculation without solid evidence. We should keep this information hidden for now, at least until this could be used as a bargaining chip against the elders, should they object to my daughter's growing involvement with the demon brat. They will not be able to resist the prospect of having our clan linked with the powerful traits of the lost clans of Uzumaki and Namikaze. This is all for my daughter's happiness should she wish to pursue Uzumaki-san in the future. Hisashi allowed himself to regain his composure, and formed a smirk of his own at this devious plan. He was curious about something though. Brother, you seem quite convinced that Hinata-sama may choose Uzumaki-sama as her lover in the future, even though they are quite young, and have just met each other. He pointed out to his older brother. Hisashi just closed his eyes and allowed a tiny grin. It may be somewhat undignified of a noble main member to speak like this. Hisashi almost snorted at this private joke between them. They never agreed with this clan segregation, and took to occasionally poking fun at that tradition. But I would have to call this a hunch. A very good one, too. Hisashi finished vaguely as his thoughts went back to when he met Hitomi at around the same age as Naruto and Hinata now. His daughter was so much like her mother it almost frightened him. 2 hours later, Naruto found himself standing outside the Hyuga compound's gate exchanging goodbyes with Hinata and Hisashi, with promises of visiting again soon. As he walked away, he was happy about how things went with Hinata. She was a little weird with all the blushing and stuttering, but she was really kind, and he could see himself being good friends with her. He found it funny that she was clueless about some of the games that other kids played outside the compound walls, such as tag and ninja. He easily won a tag, but was rather humble playing ninja with Hinata, as she usually found him easily with her Byakugan. Note to self. Don't play any kind of hiding games with any Hyuga. That aside, Naruto, did you check out that girl's body when she was training? Kurama asked from Naruto's mind, before she almost smacked herself in the face for asking such a loaded question. Yeah. What about it? Naruto replied, not catching on to anything. The fox sighed in relief that her container was still young and naive. Bless your naivety, boy. Anyway, that is how a properly developed body looks. Her clan was focused on Jujutsu training and proper nutrition almost from birth. She was fast, limber, and agile. Were she so inclined, she could kick your ass 8 different ways in the first 5 seconds with the way you are right now. Kurama stated as a matter of fact. Naruto had to bitterly agree with her assessment of his current condition. In your case, you have a natural disposition towards strength rather than speed like her. That is not to say we cannot make you fast, but your physical attacks will be devastating when you can fully utilize your strength. In 2 months, we will work strength into your body, but also make sure you stay as quick and agile as your body would allow. For now, just focus on your exercises until then. Naruto nodded his affirmative before he had another thought. How do you know so much about human training methods? I was not always a monster who razes villages to the ground for no good reason, you know. I did observe humans in various forms throughout my long life, and while I was trapped in my 2 previous containers, I had a good and up-close look at how shinobi train. The fox explained before an idea struck her. That reminds me. We will need to get you started on studying history, tactics, math, human anatomy, and science. Every day after the morning exercises, when you are not busy, you will go to the library and spend the afternoons studying the books I pick out for you. She finished in a no-nonsense tone as Naruto flinched in terror at the prospect of having to read anything without pictures. First you take away my ramen, then you destroy my body, and now you want to bore me to death. Oh, stop whining like an infant. A strong body works best with a strong mind. A clever tactic you study now may save your life later when you remember it in the heat of a battle. You can effectively damage any human body with as little force as you need if you know where exactly to strike and what amount of pressure to apply. Studying famous shinobi and clans now may help you later if you ever encounter any of these shinobi or their offspring, since specialty jutsus are generally passed down. These are just few of many benefits of having knowledge. The fox lectured. Naruto didn't want to admit it at all, but he knew she was absolutely right. Besides, it's only for the first couple months as you build your body up to acceptable levels. After that we will get more practical, and you'll only have to read just 1 or 2 books per week, in addition to what they may teach you in the academy. Kurama allowed. Naruto nodded in resignation as he continued the walk back home. 2 days later. The past 2 days have been quiet. The only thing even remotely exciting that happened was when Naruto was kicked out of the public library on his first visit. The Hokage immediately appeared afterward though, and kindly asked for an explanation from the terrified librarian. When she could not provide an adequate response, the boy was allowed back in. The librarian was then reminded that she might be called in to talk with Marino Ibiki of the interrogation department to provide her supposed reason the next time she tried something again with Naruto. She swore to never even look at the blonde the wrong way since that day. I guess studying history isn't so bad. The battle at the Kanabi Bridge was pretty awesome. Naruto mentally spoke to the fox as he was walking toward the Hokage Tower from the library. Glad to see you're taking well to your exercising and studying. Kurama approved in his head. You work fast, Kurama. I can already feel my body changing. The blonde thought as he flexed his arms some, noticing a little bit more muscle as he entered the Hokage Tower and went up several floors. He noticed a lone figure walking down the stairs from above. He scowled when he saw the cloud insignia on the man's armband, denoting that this man belonged to Kumo Gakure. The man was wearing the most arrogant and victorious smirk the young boy had ever seen on anyone. He did not pay the wary blonde any notice as he passed by and continued down the stairs out of the building. Naruto was glaring holes into the man's back the whole time until he was out of sight. He then disgruntledly spit on the floor where that man stepped through and continued up. Something was wrong, and he could feel it with each step he took closer to the Hokage office. There was a feeling of heavy pressure in the air, and it seemed to be trying to crush him. By the time he reached the landing, he noted the secretary by the office's door was gripping onto her desk's edge with white knuckles and trembling, clearly scared out of her wit. At this point, the pressure was so strong and deadly that the boy himself felt like running back down the stairs and all the way out of the village, never to return. This is that old fart's killing intent. He's seriously pissed. The fox calmly clarified. I'd say. I want to faint and he's not even directing it at me. I think it had something to do with that Kumo guy. I've never seen Hokage Chiji this angry. Also, it doesn't sound like this is bothering you one bit. Naruto inquired of his tenant, who just scoffed. Please. This is like a gnat threatening a full-grown elephant. The fox replied dismissively. Says the one who left me to his mercy the other night when he was asking nicely about us. Huffed Naruto. In my defense, that smile was scarier than anyone's killing intent, and I am looking at the world from a small human boy's perspective, not from a giant Biju able to squash puny humans with just my pinky. The killing intent in the air slowly lifted, much to the relief of the secretary and the blonde boy. A long moment of heavy silence passed before Naruto brought an index finger up. I don't suppose this is a good time to visit him, Tammy-chan. He tried to say in good humor. The cute young brown-haired female chunin, doing secretary duties this week, violently shook her head. You're kidding me, right? You had to have felt that too. I like you too much to let you go in there now, Naruto-kun. She warned with a glare that brooked no argument. The boy just nodded his head and turned back in the direction he came from. I suppose you're right. I'll see you tomorrow then. Naruto agreed with a wave over his shoulder as he disappeared down the stairs. Now what? Now we find something else to do. There's no hurry in getting to that training field anyway. How about we repeat what we just did this morning for the evening? You should be able to handle that now. Kurama said thoughtfully as the boy winced at the prospect of more exercising. On the other side of the office's door, the Hokage felt Naruto's presence fade as he left the building. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but other things are on my mind at this moment. He thought as he sat in his chair and went back over the conversation that just happened with the Kumo ambassador. 15 minutes earlier. Would you repeat that again? The third ground out with barely constrained anger at the man standing in front of him, the new ambassador from Kuro. The man remained stoic, despite trembling violently on the inside in face of the powerful Hokage's anger. A good politician had to bluff all the time, after all. You heard me. Under the guidelines of our new peace agreement, we demand reparations for the wrongful death of one of our most prized retired shinobi. You also wrongfully did an autopsy on him without our permission, and certainly have learned all of his secrets by now. The only way Raikage-sama will be satisfied is if we are allowed to retrieve an intact body of the man responsible for our ambassador's murder. The new ambassador spoke with a stern expression. You will forgive me for saying this, but bull fucking shit. We have evidence and witness accounts that placed your retired shinobi in the act of kidnapping Hyuga Hinata. We obviously followed procedure with a hostile shinobi in our territory. The Hokage almost shouted as he slammed a fist on the desk, cracking it a little. What evidence is that? We have confirmed reports that there were absolutely no traces of our previous ambassador anywhere in the Hyuga compound, and none on the Hyuga girl who accused him of abducting her. Here is what we feel truly happened. The previous ambassador was just taking a walk outside the compound wall, when a young and infamous prankster decided to surprise and assault the man. Why would he have expected an attack in a village he had just signed a peace agreement with? The ambassador spoke calmly with a fake puzzled look before continuing. And to make it worse, the boy yelled out a blatantly false statement that would send a random man nearby into a blind rage. After the ambassador was brutally murdered by the same man, the Hyuga clan attempted to cover it up by having a young innocent girl lie about a kidnapping attempt, and procured the gag and rope themselves. The reports also said that the young prankster himself disappeared right before the other Hyugas appeared, apparently not wanting to be caught responsible for the ambassador's demise. Because of that, he cannot be considered a reliable witness, even if we did not take his history of being an untrustworthy public nuisance into account. The ambassador said, laying out all his carefully prepared lies. The Hokage kept his deadly glare burning into this hateful man, but inwardly he was stunned. What this man said nearly matches the official Anbu report word for word. That Kumo kidnapper really did not leave any trace, even on the young girl and the ropes, which was a near impossibility. How did Kumo get their hands on the report and Naruto-kun's file? Because the Anbu reports could be accessed by any nin with high enough clearance, I ordered them to strike Naruto-kun's near-death experience, the Kyuubi's chakra, and any evidence, including the blood and kunai used by the Kumo nin, from the official record. This was all done to protect the S-rank secret of Naruto-kun's Jinchuriki status. I didn't think it would come back to bite us in our collective ass. I honestly believe we have a better case than you do, and we will win, if we held court in neutral territory over this. Especially when we call your entire village in as witness to the young prankster's character. With that, I will repeat our one simple demand. Give us the intact body of the man responsible for our ambassador's murder. If you do not comply, I have been personally authorized by the Raikage to declare our newly signed peace treaty dissolved, and we will escalate our military's presence on our border. The ambassador reiterated. You dare threaten us? The third snarled, increasing his killer intent at the ambassador, who blanched a little. We are simply doing what was required in response to the unprovoked murder of one of our most respected retired shinobi. Are you sure you want to risk heavy losses for an alleged murder if things were to escalate between us? We all know Konoha is still weakened by the Kyuubi no Kitsune's attack. I'm also sure your current reports state that our military force is already back up to full strength after the last Great War. I wonder how your village, wary after so many losses, would feel if it was found out many more deaths could have been easily prevented by the life of one single man. You don't have to worry about this being public. We will keep this quiet, and you can just explain the Hyuga man's death in any way you want. The ambassador pressed his advantage. The air grew heavy with tension each passing moment, as the Hokage seemed to contemplate killing the man in front of him, to just go ahead and get things started with Kumo. Get out. The god of shinobi finally spat out before he did something he would regret. The ambassador decided not to press his luck anymore and made for the door. I will be back later tonight for the official response. He quickly blurted out before exiting. After Hiruzen felt Naruto come and go and he had a few minutes to gather his thoughts, he realized there was no way out of this. It would either result in the death of one man or the deaths of many in a village, with its morale still low and tired of death. He sighed and waved his hand. A dog-masked silver-haired Anbu instantly appeared in front of his desk. Inu, you have heard all of that. Find the leaks in the Anbu information network and seal them. Use any means necessary, and I don't care who are responsible. Just make sure to pump them for all information they have before they disappear. He ordered. It shall be done, Hokage-sama. Kakashi almost growled from behind his dog mask, angry at having been compromised. He then disappeared out of the office to carry out the new orders. Hiruzen, who was feeling every bit of his old age, tiredly stood up and looked out the window at his village, as if this would help him come to a decision. He remained staring at the sun slowly setting beyond the majestic forest surrounding this quiet village for almost an hour, before he finally turned around and buzzed Tammy on the intercom. The coming darkness seemed to signify the Hokage's sober mood. Get me Hyuga Hiyashi. Tell him this is urgent. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.